not.
Taiwan is a country.
Taiwan is a country. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Dungeon of the Mad Mage for our public statement here live now. Taiwan is a country. Anyways, moving on.
Oh, shoot.
We're a little behind schedule tonight, so let's just go ahead and jump into the recap. Previously, in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. The party had retreated from the land of the stone men, somewhat victorious in their endeavors, but confused by their most recent encounter with the stone giants of the 7th level. Deciding to take this opportunity to rest, work, and potentially research any of the several lines of inquiry they had come to, the party decided to take some time out of the dungeon. At least, some of them did. Bones elected to stay behind with the Skull Takers, both to work within the heart of the mountain and to assist the Goblin tribe in becoming a more cohesive and hopefully independent unit. Ashes, Ezrah, and Matashtai headed through the magic gate in the Willowwood, where they had a brief conversation with the mysterious voice of that place. A conversation that ended with the voice admitting that it was trapped. Still, nothing could be done at this moment, and the three of them found their way topside to the City of Splinters. After making their way home and catching up with the going-ons at the Lifted Spirits, the party rested for the evening. On the morning of the 13th, the party split up to complete their various tasks. Matashtai took Gallant out for a ride around the city, visited Shalara, his rare item contact, spent some time making talismans, and then visited the Mount Melody Walk and New Olam's Academy of Music. There, he was introduced to an individual named the Masked Man, and began setting about learning to be more eloquent and charming. Ashes went to Fala's, where he procured more potions and ordered yet more. He also heard Crocodile roar within the building and wondered about the situation, but did not investigate. Then he spent time looking for suppliers for alchemical ingredients, eventually finding his way to an ore supplier, Torbit and Tolls, where he secured access to adamantine for future endeavors. After this, Ashes rested for the day and spent the evening at the Temple of the Moon. There, Taverin introduced him to a brutal regimen of training that the Wardens underwent in order to control their more bestial sides. Ashes participated, and his training in the Order of Sharp Teeth served him well. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Bones spent time crafting within the heart of the mountain, and then organized the Skull Takers into a complex game of hide and seek, meant to train the goblins in stealth and perception, increase their familiarity with their new home, and allow Bones to see who all succeeded in such an environment. The entire event was a rousing success. Ezrah spent his day at the Font of Knowledge, attempting to gather information on the stone giants in an attempt to see if there was some way to smooth over the party's interactions with them. Unfortunately, while he found a great deal of lore on giantkin in general, he found nothing to aid him specifically in this line of inquiry. Likewise, he spent his afternoon searching through Calabash's tome, and while he felt that he was on the cusp of a breakthrough, he wasn't there yet. Fortunately, his evening was taken up by less frustrating ventures, a conversation with Rainier Neverember. The nobleman contact of the Harpers took Ezra's report on the defeat of the Xanathar and the party's successes in Madgoth's castle. He seemed worried about Madgoth's disappearance and the fact that the mage obviously knew he had been spied upon, but at this point nothing could be done. He promised to investigate further on the matter and urged Ezrah to continue delving in Undermountain. Before Rainier left, he told Ezrah that the party had been summoned by Laeral Silverhand, the Open Lord of Waterdeep, to a ceremony held at Pirgaron's palace the next day. When Ezrah asked about what and why, Rainier simply replied that the party had started making waves, and those waves needed to be addressed. On the morrow, Ashes, Ezrah, and Matashtai made their way to Pirgaron's palace, where they participated in an odd ceremony performed in front of both noble and common witnesses. The ceremony involved the Silver Hand making loud proclamations to a group of hidden, masked individuals. By the end, the party had been proclaimed heroes and given the honorary titles of Wardens of the High Road. But the real intent was clear. They and their deeds had been publicly claimed as the deeds of the City of Splendors. And with the selection of witnesses present, soon the whole city would know, if it didn't already.
Oh boy.
And that is where we fade back into the scene, so to speak, and kind of like broaden back into our R&R days. So, I had said this previously. Right? Day 2! I'd said this previously, but this event at Pirgaron's Palace happens around 10 o'clock, right? But yeah, in the morning. But your days can still be structured without risk of like, oh, we've lost the section of our day or whatever. So don't worry about that particularly. It's just there's a little chunk, 30-minute chunk of your day that gets taken out there. No big deal. So, let's put on some music. I'm gonna do this for now.
Music.
I love you, Mama. Don't die, please.
Okay. It's like Zootopia.
Not sure about that. Not dying.
It doesn't
thing.
exist. What are you talking about?
It doesn't exist. All right. So.
Zootopia.
My goodness.
Fan fiction.
All right. We've got all the things. I've got all the things. My body is ready.
Hey, Reggie.
Okay. Does anyone want to go first? Or am I just picking around the room?
My shit's super easy. I can do that.
All right, let's do it. What you doing? Bones!
All right, so we wait.
It's the morning of the... What is it, the 13th or is it the 14th?
It's the 14th.
It's the 14th. It is the 14th. All right, Bones, it's the 14th. What happens?
We'll just kind of chill out for a little bit. Take a walk. And then I get to work. I do some work.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a little work.
Work day, and we're already... We know what's going on there, right? The current plan.
6 of 10.
6
End
of
of
10
day.
is going. Gotcha.
And then I think today I would like to help the goblins accomplish a goal.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So I'm gonna find Mossy. I'm gonna say, "Hey, Mossy, what's up, bro?
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Do you wanna have some fun? Let's just go do something." So we go over where I first found Mossy, which is where they said they were clearing out for like.
Yep. And when you get there, right,
farm.
the half the room is ripped up, right? And there's 2 or 3 goblins in here with pickaxes. Not sure where they got the pickaxes, but they have pickaxes, right? And they're just occasionally smashing at the floor and everything like that, but it's really kind of nonchalant work.
Yeah. I said, "Hey guys, let us take over for a little bit," and I asked Mossy. I said, "Hey, Mossy, why don't you help me clear out this rock so they can do stuff?" I'm gonna help too. I'm not asking Mossy just to do it.
Sure. Yeah. You start going about.
Why have a Zorn best friend if he's not gonna like?
Mossy makes you all look like kindergarten students in comparison to what Mossy is capable of doing here, right? Like you can start like going about doing things, but eventually you're just like, "Hey, Mossy, there," and Mossy dips down into the ground slightly, right? Like melds down into the ground, tilts, opens his mouth, and just kind of blender spins in a drill motion and just through the ground and just chews it up. matter of minutes chews it up.
Okay. Well, I thought this was gonna take longer. All right.
Well, so like
well.
for that particular section, right? To do the whole room, it'll probably take Mossy an afternoon, but that's an afternoon, whereas like the goblins would be doing this for days.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Well, we did it. I give him a high five. Claw bump.
It becomes a bit of a spectacle, right? Like as soon as it starts up, the 3 goblins that are in here, one of which is Cotter, the ex-foreman from level 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of get all excited and they leave, and it's clear they go and spread the word that fun stuff is happening, right? So throughout the rest of this afternoon, other members of the Skull Takers, not just goblins, but other members of the Skull Takers filter in and kind of like watch Mossy just go to fucking town. And then they start doing their own little competitions, right? Like, who can break through this section of stone faster, blah, 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 blah. And it's
man versus machine.
It's mostly just a lot of like, because none of the goblins are strong, right? None of them are strong.
Nope.
It just ends up being a lot of like wet noodle contests until Blarg steps up to the plate, right? And Blarg can, I don't know, use 3 goblins as a pickaxe and smash everything in existence. Blarg is very strong. So like, and Blarg doesn't get excitable or anything like that, but the goblins peer pressure Blarg into participating in the contests, right? But eventually Blarg's just like, smash. And like half a corner just like gets obliterated.
Blarg
so.
Smeesh. All right, cool. We did it. Yeah, we accomplished the goal.
Yeah, so the goblins that hang out, and probably you as well, right? Throughout the afternoon, the biggest issue isn't now that Mossy is doing this. The biggest issue isn't tearing up the floor. It's getting all of this stuff out of here and what to do with it, etc. And there's that little stone pit to the west that has it's like a 40-foot drop or something like that. So a lot of the various bits and bobs just gets tossed into there. Some of the bigger chunks, right, like Mossy comes back around and basically like cuts down to size, pretty much like grinds down or splits in two or those types of things. And you get a little like assembly factory line going with goblins like carting things out and passing things along, and it turns into a whole activity. But so it's not just you and Mossy doing all the work. The goblins are industrious, and it becomes a fun game for them. So they participate in. Basically, by the end of the afternoon, early evening, it's all broken down in here. Now, even as you go down, there's not a lot of soil or anything here, right?
Yeah.
There are little patches of like strange bits of earth, but most of it's still stone. But you basically dig down a couple feet and pull out all of the worked stone. And then the goblins start to bring in buckets and a wheelbarrow of dirt, right? That they've been collecting from the Willowwood. So,
hell yeah!
So it's a process, and it seems like it'll be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and notate that, rather than being completed later on.
We did it!
Through the power of friendship.
Through the power of friendship and earth-eating monsters.
Earth-eating monsters, absolutely.
Mostly the monsters.
Mostly friendship, though.
Yeah, totally friendship.
The information.
So Cotter, who seems to be kind of like the industrious builder style person, right? They had planned to have this done on the 17th, and you basically just finished it in an afternoon.
Oh, nice. We did it. I high-five him, too.
Fives all around.
All right, then. And then for the rest of my day, I would like to go and find Greer. And I would like to invite him first I want to ask him if he's like, messed with that little library, and if hasn't, I'm like, hey, let's go mess with that.
Mm, the farm might be like a singular day event. You might have to like hold off on another day to
can
do
push-
another adventure type thing.
Okay, I push that back.
Okay. But you could touch base with Greer and be like, "Hey, do you want to do this tomorrow?" Right? Because Greer will be like, "Oh, yeah, I looked at it, but
Not tomorrow. 2 days.
I don't read Dwarvish."
Oh, I do. I can do that.
Oh, cool. Can you teach me Dwarvish?
Yes, I'm very fluent.
Greer's just like, okay.
All right, sounds good. 2 days.
Oh fuck. All right. Sounds like a plan. All right. Okay. Bones done. Let me notate this. My goodness. All right. Who's up next? Who wants to go next? Top side people. I'm just gonna put this on.
I volunteers as not tribute. Is it?
Ashes volunteers as tribute. Yeah, it's volunteering as tribute.
Volunteer as tribute.
All right. What's up? What's up, Buttercup?
All right. So after waking up in the morning, probably still feeling a little stiff from the day before. I'm going to.
Oh, sorry. Let me interject real quick because I forgot about this. So, and this might not matter much of anything, but I do have it notated. To Zach Bones, right?
Oh, that's me.
Cotter has been kind of like leading the building enterprises, right? Because that's a little bit of his background. But the person that's actually running the planting of the fungus and everything like that is Thresher. Apparently, they have a bit of a green thumb.
Former farmer. I see that notated here. Yes.
Very
And
good. Sorry, I apologize. Jay, go ahead.
No big deal. I wish to go back to that facility where I learned how to better brew potions in an attempt to be even better at brewing potions.
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
I wish to get that process started.
Yeah. Okay. So you head back to, I believe that was in the trade wards. I don't remember. There is a particular city, but I do not remember. Or city. There's a particular city that you guys are in.
Maybe Waterdeep.
Maybe it's Waterdeep. I'm not sure. No. There's a particular street. I cannot remember the name of the street. But there is one, so I apologize for not having that immediately on hand. If it becomes an issue, I will go back through my notes and I will find it for later. But you make your way over there, and from memory, right, it is where the Guild of Apothecaries resides. And it's on this street, which has basically a half a dozen apothecary shops. And as was the case with the last visit that you had, there's a bunch of people here, like, out and about. Most of them are perfectly fine, but there are a couple of clearly, like, coughing or rosy-cheeked individuals, right? And most of them are here purchasing medicine for sick loved ones or for themselves, you know? This is kind of like the if you don't go to the temples to get yourself like magic cured, you come to the apothecaries to get yourself herbally cured. So you make your way in and make your way up via directions to the individual that you had spoken to previously. I believe their name was Dwight.
That should be in my notes. What did you say?
Was it
Dwight
Dwight?
Eisenhower.
It was.
It's Dwight. Yeah. So Dwight is
Guy with
one of
glasses.
the
tired.
older gentleman, guy with glasses, perpetually tired, overworked. He's one of the administrative heads of the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians. You're directed to his office again. Make your way in. He's super cluttered, files all over the place, and he's like, "Oh, I remember you. No refunds."
Oh, no.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's not how this works. What do you? What's? I'm sorry.
Well, I was actually curious if I could maybe start expanding. Like, you know, I might have my associates. Maybe I'm looking for my bachelors.
He blinks at you like confusedly.
Do they not have that in Faerun? Is that not a thing?
He looks at you and he goes, I'm sorry, I remember your face, but not your purpose.
I'm learning alchemy.
Oh.
I want to brew better potions.
And he kind of like, he gives you a very quick quiz, right? Kind of like a brushing himself up on what your actual capabilities are.
I mean, I still
right?
have the ones I've been making. I'll pull those out.
Well, he just doesn't remember, right? He doesn't remember the prior conversation. He remembers you, in theory, but he doesn't remember the prior conversation. So he tries to kind of like figure out exactly what your capabilities are and what you would need to be doing. And once he realizes kind of like what your skill set is and what you're going for, he sits you down and he says, all right, so here's the deal. If you want to receive further instruction from the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians, unfortunately, the regulations within the city of Waterdeep require that you be a member of the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians. What you would be learning at this point is considered too dangerous to be taught to someone not under the regulations of the city. Now, that's perfectly acceptable if you're willing to pay the associated costs and fees, but it can be, and he looks at you like, the way he's saying it, like he's gearing up and he's like really, like it's clear that he's like had this conversation before and people are like, what the fuck?
I can't
right?
believe this is an outrage.
But he looks at you and he says, guild membership is relatively simple, just licensing and etc. The guild dues are 5 gold per month. And after he says that, right, like he looks at you like he's waiting, and you don't like freak out, and he's like, maybe he's okay, right? And he says, but the necessary instruction and licenses and permits and associated costs will run you 2,500 gold.
This is an outrage.
Right?
Wow.
Like,
That's a lot, bro.
Yeah.
But for explanation from a mechanical standpoint, not only what this does is it will allow you to start. There's a training process that you'll have to go through. It'll give you access to uncommon potions, I believe, or you're already at uncommon, right?
I have uncommon.
So it'll give you access to rare potions, right? But not only that, from a regulation standpoint, it also gives you license to sell within the city of Waterdeep. Because basically at this point, if you start to produce anything more, they won't let you through legitimate means unless you are registered with the Guild of Apothecary and Physicians.
Yeah.
Like assassins.
You're basically starting to deal with some dangerous shit that they're like, look, if we just let anyone do this, they're gonna like poison people in the streets or they're gonna blow shit up, and we can't have that.
Right. All right. That is more money than I have on myself currently, but here in about 4 days, I'm going to be doing what I've been doing and going to be adventuring. So by the
Dwight
time
will
I
tell
come back
you.
up, I might be able to handle that.
Dwight will tell you that this next step is not something that a lot of people take, right? There are only 2 or 3 dozen registered apothecaries of this level, probably in the city, in the whole city, right? So getting the training required is not like there's not a queue. Like you're not gonna have to sign up and wait for someone available. It's basically as soon as you're ready and willing and capable of paying, there will be someone available to teach you what you need to do. But Dwight does tell you it is a lengthy process, and it will give or take, he says, about 10 days.
Okay.
Very
Well,
reasonable.
that gives me enough information and some things to think on. And when I have made a decision and have the finances to do so, I may come back to see you.
Dwight is obviously relieved by the outcome of the conversation, right? That you're not flipping shit, right? But yeah.
Does the registration process take long enough that he should do
Yeah, should I
that?
get the
No,
paperwork
it's
started?
the paperwork is actually very, very quick, and the authorization that you need comes from the heads of the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians anyways. So it's all internal, right? They are basically allowed to govern, the guilds are basically allowed to govern themselves within reason, as long as they then report that back to the government, the open lord, basically, of Waterdeep. So
As I walk out, I grab the bottom of his desk with both hands and
flip it.
flip. God damn it! It's super rage.
Do you know who I am?
You get the impression that is
Flash my pin I got from I'm a hero.
that will
You're
not
not gonna
have
do this
been
to
the
me, I'm a
first time
hero.
that this conversation has been had by Dwight.
He keeps like only 1 or 2 things on the desk.
Oh,
Nothing
I'm also
breakable.
in
Nothing
this
breakable.
office.
Nice. Oh shit. All right. Next up for Ashes.
Well, I mean that's pretty much all I had. I'm assuming that's not even gonna take that long.
No, I mean that takes you traveling across the city in a little
So
while to
my
talk, so.
backup plan is I'll tell you what, let's go to Blackstaff Tower and here's the problem. I have no problem going and looking for work, just kill some time.
Sure.
It's been a long time since I spoke
I think it's
with,
been like a week. It's not that long a time. Maybe like 2 weeks.
I feel like, all right, at least
It's
as far as,
been
like, Jay
months
playing
in
Dungeons
real
and
life,
Dragons, the
yeah.
last time I talked to Vajra was like
Oh.
months.
Oh yeah.
Months ago.
Last time you talked to, well, keep in mind, right? Like, I think you guys are on like day 65 of the campaign, right? So even though multiple years has gone by in real life, like,
Yeah,
maximum
I gotta get
2
my
months
head
ago.
in the
And it
time
definitely hasn't
frame.
been that long. It might have been like a couple weeks to a month the last time you spoke to Vajra, but it's been less time since you've been to the Blackstaff Tower.
If that's the case, then I'd probably better leave her alone. She was explicit in the fact that I really shouldn't be bugging her unless I had something of value to tell her. So
Sure. Well, but the last couple times that you went to Blackstaff, you interfaced with Hastades, right? The elven steward, very
very
strange, weird individual, right? And he just sends you on quests throughout the city. Sometimes you think he makes them up, right? Like sometimes he just has a tendency to just be like, okay, go do this thing, you know? But I mean, it's stuff that gets done. So
Yeah.
So he's a DM.
right, basically. Sometimes he just looks at the sheet of paper on his lectern and he's like, I don't have anything. Please go to this place and acquire this item for me.
Go get my dry cleaning.
Right. So are you wanting...
I love the two extremes. It's like Hasadis has got like literally nothing, and you try to get a hold of Vadra, and there's literally like some world-ending thing going on that she's dealing with, and she's apparently saving the world each and every day.
Look, and in with great style.
Mhm.
The most stylish person in Waterdeep.
But yeah, I'll let's just kill some time at Blackstaff and see if I can get some busy work.
Roll a d20 for me.
18.
18.
I don't know if high was good or low was good.
I try to go for the high option typically. Try to keep it samesies. So, Hastati's, I think this has happened to you at least once before. But you come in and Hastati's greets you, and at first he's very like, how can I help you? And then, you know, you tell him like, hey, it's been a while, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he realizes you're here for work, and he's like, oh, okay. And in a matter of about 5 minutes, you find yourself in a chamber with several other individuals, right?
And a room.
A very strange, motley assortment of people, and your early afternoon, the next couple hours are, well, actually, let's do this. Roll me an athletics check, an acrobatics check, and any other check that you want specifically, but it can't be one of those.
All right, acrobatics, probably not gonna be great.
Okay.
It was all right.
17.
Athletic, probably gonna be great. It was middling.
16. What?
And
reverse.
Another one of my own choosing.
Yep, your own choosing.
Let us
Deception.
Deception. I've got a -1 to deception.
Religion.
Fuck it. I mean, I'm doing potion stuff. Let's do medicine. It's horrible.
7.
I've got a lot to learn.
I didn't like.
Okay, see, I once ate pizza that was.
You're not going to get any sicker
like
than you are now. I'll tell you that.
So,
your
it's
food
very safe.
from this afternoon is perfectly fine, Lovebug. All right. You spend the next few hours with this motley assortment of people breaking into multiple buildings around the city,
Like Viennese?
chasing multiple assassins across the rooftops of the city, and then trying to pump the stomach of someone, failing, and then getting bailed out by a cleric that shows up.
damn, that guy died.
Nope, bailed out. Got bailed out.
And afterwards, right, like it is a crazy, hectic, adrenaline fueled couple of hours, and then you find yourself unexpectedly back in Blackstaff Tower, and you're kind of like, you're leaving, and you're kind of blinking, and you look over at Hastati's, and he's like, thank you. And you have this kind of like questionable feeling to yourself about whether or not you actually ever left the tower or not. But as
At
you
least
were
you feel useful.
as you are leaving, Hastades hands you a small purse, a little pouch that has 10 gold in it. It says, "For your services today." And you can tick up your renown with the Grey Hands by 1.
Great.
Try as you might, as you step beyond the confines of the Blackstaff Tower, try as you might, you can remember things that happened vaguely, but you can't remember any of the people that you were working with, any of the things that they did or really said. You just have these vague impressions of them, and you have no idea what it is you actually accomplished.
It's bullshit. Okay. I think I'm gonna go back to the manor for a little bit and collect my thoughts.
Gonna go wash that one off. Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe
Crocodile
get
rolls
ready
in our
for
heart the whole time.
what comes in the night.
Evening back at the Temple of the Moon. Okay, so you arrive back at the Temple of the Moon early evening. You are greeted, you're let in, you are allowed to kind of like do what you did previously, right? Just kind of like offer your services, and, you know, a little while after you arrive, Taverin appears, pulls you from what you are doing, and guides you through the temple complex. Kind of further up, until you get to that hallway that you had been to previously. And this time, Taverin walks right past it. And as he does, he looks back at you and he says, "It's not good to do the same thing over and over and over again. You get used to it. Don't worry, we'll be back to it later."
Great. I can't wait.
He kind of smiles and he gives you this knowing chuckle, right? But he just
I'll
leads
just, like,
you onwards,
in my
right?
head,
Right? He just leads you
Zalara would've heard
onwards,
it.
and you kind of like hear in response, right? Like Zalara just chats with you occasionally throughout your day, but in these kinds of instances, Zalara's always kind of like seems a little not anxious necessarily, but like on edge in the temple, right? And you kind of like you say that and she's like, "Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. I hate not knowing what's coming." And then you are taken to a circular chamber that has a bunch of like arrow slit windows. And you realize you're in one of the smaller spires that come up from the temple.
Mhm.
And there are little weapon racks along the perimeter of the room, right? And Taverin looks at you and he says, "All right, well, done a good job with the keeping control side of things, and work on that more later." No, really, you did excellent compared to some of the. I mean, you've been through this type of stuff before. It shows.
Unfortunately.
Well, the order trains in a specific way for a specific reason.
Right.
This is going to be something slightly different, but a similar vein. What is your greatest strength?
Like
in combat, not this isn't from the heart type thing. No. Like when you're
I'm too
fighting,
loyal.
Love.
when you're
he's
fighting
HR.
for your life, when you're on a mission, whatever that is, what is your greatest strength? What sets you apart?
Honestly, it's just, I don't know. Whenever it comes down to it, just hunker down and go in. I just lean into whatever's in the way and try to make it no longer in my way.
All right. But you tend to be the one standing at the end of it, right?
Oh yeah.
Why is
Yeah.
that? More often than not.
I don't know, because I don't use a bow really.
He walks over, right? And he picks up one of the
Bows.
daggers off of one of the adjacent shelves to one of the little weapon racks. And he holds up his hand, right? And he kind of like cuts very casually across the palm of his hand. And he kind of like hisses a little bit, right? Like it stings. He's not like,
of
he's
course.
not immune or anything like that. He's just, that hurts. That hurts a lot.
It seems like it.
But when I'm in form, almost nothing.
Okay.
He reaches to his hip though, and he draws the sickle that he keeps on his hip, right?
I can't remember who.
It's
that is.
Biltzen, right? And he looks at you and says, but this will... doesn't care. Magic is a problem.
Yes. I have picked up on that very well as well.
With enough training, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Well, so I've been told. I personally am not there yet.
Okay. And what do you do to get there?
He looks at you and he's just like, what do we do to get anywhere? He takes you through some... He actually starts this off. He takes you through some prayers and meditations. Sitting in particular locations in this room throughout different times of the night allows different amounts of moonlight to filter into those locations. So he shows you a couple of these different small prayers to Selune, and mostly it's just meditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then in between those moments, you take turns cutting the shit out of each other with magic weapons.
It sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible. And he doesn't even have you shift into forms necessarily, right? Like he tells you that it's not necessary. It's just kind of like the familiarization of your body and the believing in the will of Selune, etc., etc. That supposedly can eventually get you to that point. Again, Deverin...
So it's similar to like trying to build up resistance to a poison. Just...
Almost kind of like that, yeah, basically, right? It's building up a resistance to a poison while also praying for assistance in building up the resistance to the poison. Right? So, yeah, that is your evening. In between, by the way, right? Like, you guys don't just come out of this mutilated mess. Acolytes occasionally show up to heal your wounds. And you realize, or I say realize, maybe Taverin kind of just explains to you that the way this whole place works, it has a great many things. The House of the Moon does a great many things, right? But it is also just a training ground for the initiates of Selune and her ideology, right? So what you guys are doing as the acolytes come around, this is also a part of their training, right? To go through and exhaust themselves healing people, right, in order to try to become better at that, etc., right? So anyways,
It's time to get better at magic. Let's go kill some goblins.
let's go kill some goblins, right? Anyways, so if nothing else, I think that ends your day, right?
Yeah, that gets him square.
Okay, sounds good. Who's up next, Ezra or Matashtai?
I can go. I don't have
Matashtai.
much to do. So I can't remember with the masked dude. Was it like I come back every day
Bless
kind
you.
of thing, or was it? Okay.
Bless you.
So each session is an individual session, right? So you don't have to do them consecutively, but he is prepared and ready for you should you show up. Especially right now, since it's winter at New Olam's, it's kind of like, I'm not really doing anything else, you know?
All right, cool. Well, I'll hit him up first.
Okay.
And then I'll get some training. Get
Some-
my speech classes done
training.
in the morning.
Speech class. So it's actually, he takes you out, to a nearby cafe.
Walk amongst the people.
Well, he takes you out to a nearby cafe, and you know he sits there and he gets drinks, which he drinks through the mask. Right, he doesn't take the mask off. He produces a straw and drinks through the mask. All the while, the mask is changing facial features. But
Alright,
he
so
basically,
I gotta ask, what's with the mask?
it's the perfect representation of my feelings.
If
All
only,
right.
if only we were
like-
equipped with faces.
But like, why don't you take it off to eat or drink or anything?
Well, we are in public, and I must keep up my persona.
Oh, so you're not like disfigured or something under there, and you're trying to
Oh,
hide it.
my, no. I am the very picture of angelic beauty.
Insight check.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I want to read him. I'm trying to see if he's lying to me.
Yeah, read
Roll
the
an insight
mask.
check.
Where there it is. Flat. With pretty good insight.
It is difficult to read the masked man because he's a masked man, but there are different things to look for, right? Like not
Is he shifty
just
in his seat
facial.
when he says it, or
Not exactly, right? Not just facial features, but body language, changes in pitch and cadence of speech, you know, that type of thing. And you're not sure what it is, right? But there's definitely some untruth in the statement. Not sure that there's horrible disfigurement or anything like that, but the perfect picture of angelic beauty doesn't strike you as true either.
That's fun. I don't actually need to know. I'm just curious.
You have that
Okay.
kind of like spark, that kind of like moment of like, right? And immediately afterwards, there's this long pause, and the masked man's face, which is currently relatively neutral after he spoke to you, curls up into this almost evil grin, and he goes, "Good, good."
Yeah, learning things. All right. So yeah, we hang out in the cafe and
He basically gives you missions, right? Like, go say this thing to this person, right? Like, he doesn't send you up on like pickup moments or anything like that, but he's like, look at that person, they seem down, why don't you try to go lift their spirits? Or, hey, I know this person, they have a cat, right? He's just basically kind of gets you involved in talking to a bunch, and I don't picture Matashtai as being relatively introverted or anything like that, so it doesn't seem to be an issue for you, right? But the way that he tells you to notice things about particular people or approach them about particular things, you realize basically what he's doing is he's trying to give you, every time you start up a conversation with a person, he's giving you a good basis for that conversation, right? Like a good ground to start the conversation on.
almost trying to perceive something about them to give me a clue into how to talk to them.
And I will say this: he gets you to utilize your innate insight on people. Thus, because of what you already did, trying to gain some insight on him, I'm going to give you advantage on your check for today's lesson.
Wait, what do I roll again?
So for this, it is... Oh, shit, I moved that over. I fucking moved that. Oh, I moved it into your folder. My bad. Beach class. Here it is. Okay, so you need to roll a persuasion check, and you have to beat a 10. You have advantage because of your actions.
Blammo! Is it meets it beats it?
10 is meets it beats it.
Okay.
It's meets it beats it. Your DC, sorry, I shouldn't say you have to beat a 10. I should say your DC is 10. Meets it beats it. Ooh, that got very...
Thank God for that advantage.
Thank God for that advantage indeed. Alright, so that is second success, but that is also another 25 gold that you have now paid to the masked man.
Give him $25 dues.
So you basically have a pleasant morning with the masked man, flit off to go do your stuff at Pirgaron's palace, and then what do you do for the second half of your day?
So the next thing I wanted to do, I feel like I vaguely remember doing something along this line last session, but I want to find someone who can identify if the soul in the ring is Xanathar. I don't remember if we actually did that last time, or if we just talked about it.
We did not. You talked about... I don't know if you talked about it on the previous session, but you have talked about it previously. So...
I think you asked the cleric...
Shalara, yeah. I think
No, the cleric at Yawning Portal.
Obaya?
Obaya.
Yep. Yeah.
Very well. Gotcha. Yeah, because she gave you the whole spiel of, like, did Ezrah identify it?
Yeah.
And if that didn't work, then Obaya's not going to be able to do anything herself, right?
Okay.
So, with that piece of knowledge, right, I think if I'm remembering correctly now, Obaya had told you that you need to try to find a specialist, right? Like someone who is either more specialized in the soul or necromantic magic, right? So, how do you want to go about doing this? Do you have any ideas or leads, or do you just want to, like, let's start rolling and see how things go?
Well, like, my first thought would be to go chat with my buddies Bryce and Godiva at is it Kellenvor's temple?
Yeah. Temple of
but
Kalimvor in the dock ward.
I kind of feel like with how Kalimvor feels about things that they just want to purge it and send it on its way. But I think I'm gonna go chat with them. I haven't talked to them in a while. Check in.
Bryce is immediately like, "You should purge it. Send it on its way." And Godiva's like, all right, hold up. The boy's not here for your input in that particular manner. He's here for advice. There might be some important reasoning that we are not aware of. Not everything is immediately send it on its way. Right?
That was a really good impression, Godiva.
Almost like it's the same person. Oh, fuck. So, Bryce and Godiva aren't specialists in this particular type of thing. They are... However, they are able to potentially give you some guidance.
Maybe they know someone, or...
So... What Godiva will probably recommend to you is actually, let me verify this real quick, because I don't want to give you the wrong location. I think I have it right in my head. Godiva would know. Double check something. Right. Okay. So Godiva will tell you that you could try at the Hospice of St. Lopson, which is it's one of the major temples in the city. It's the temple to Ilmater.
Okay.
And she gives you this kind of like, she's like, they are home to a lot of very refined healers within the city, right? And a lot of people don't know this necessarily, and she's saying this to you, right? Like, in kind of world, right? But most healing is actually necromantic in nature. Life and life's energy is necromancy, whether that has to deal with the undead or not. So, that could be a good place to investigate. I will say this, though. A word of caution is that Ilmater is the god of the oppressed, of the suffering, of the persecuted. He seeks to offer relief, to shoulder the abused's burdens. Okay. Depending on what this item is and who it houses, depending on, it might not matter who it houses, the priests, the acolytes there might be very inclined to try to make sure that suffering is relieved. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So
they might be Bryce 2.0.
Okay.
But more forceful about it. Or they could be very, oh yes, here's your answer.
I don't know that I'm against it being released. I just would kind of like to know who's in it first.
Yeah, Godiva kind of like blinks rapidly at you, and she's like, "I'm very against it being released, depending on who's in there."
Well, I mean, sorry, like sent on.
I'm very against it being released, depending on who's in there. Sending on, and she looks over at Bryce. Bryce kind of like gahumps, right? But she looks over at Bryce and she's like, depending on who it is, that could be the worst thing. Sending a soul onto their god's realm could be inviting their opportunity to, I don't know, ascend or some dumb thing. Who knows?
Become the newest avatar for the god of death himself.
Now, if you're not sure about that and you're not willing to take the chance, you could just dig around the city, investigate, put out feelers. If you have any magic-y friends or something like that, you might try to find... And you hear this kind of like, coming from Bryce. And Godiva goes like, a hedge witch or a hag. They have way more experience in matters of the soul, for obvious reasons. And they're less liable to try to force you to give the item up or release the thing. Though, obviously, they'll probably want a different type of payment. You're dealing with some sketchy stuff right now, Matashtai.
Got it. All right.
Soul business is
Just remember the rule.
bad business.
Always make a deal with a hag.
Always make a deal with a hag. Come on, we're playing D&D, y'all. Always make a deal with a hag.
What could go wrong?
Nothing. There's no
Boy.
way.
So,
All right. Well, I appreciate your insight, and I'll see what I can find.
okay. So what do you do?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it over to the Temple of Ilmater.
Okay. All right.
I am gonna send a missive to Trollskull just in case somehow this Temple of Ilmater decides that they want to, lock me up, take the ring, and no one ever hears from me because they work for Xanathar.
Nice.
So I send a missive to Trollskull telling them where I'm going.
Okay.
It's funny.
You send off your missive. Good to know. You find yourselves in the hospice of Saint Lopson. And it is initially a little challenging to get anything done, right? It's a very, unlike a lot of the temples in the City of Splinters, it's a very flat temple. It's not multiple stories, and it's very open. It's almost kind of like a Greek open air, like Parthenon style. There's a couple of like enclosed rooms, but there's a lot of just open places. And you quickly come to realize that a lot of the enclosed places are like full-on hospitals. And then there's also like a more residential section in the back of the temple complex. But the main section is comprised of like 3 open areas. And there's a lot of hubbub back and forth. There's a lot of activity. It takes you a while to get anything going, but eventually, I say eventually, what what is your goal here when you go seeking to speak to someone? How do you approach it? Are you just like, hey, I got this thing with maybe a dead soul in it, I was wondering if, right? Or are you like more circumspect about it, right? Are you like,
adventurers?
I need to talk to someone with expertise on X subject or something, right? Like, how do you go about doing this?
Oh, I guess first of all, like you said, there's like multiple wings or like areas to go through. Like, is it pretty like to let people walk around?
Yeah, they kind of just they don't stop you. You seem to just be walking around.
Okay. Then I'm gonna try and put to use some of the training the masked man has been giving me, and kind of walk around, and kind of glance into each room, take a quick, like survey the surroundings. Does anyone have like bunch of books and like crystals and shit that seem kind of soul-like, or like do we have anything that looks more like a mage's area or anything like that?
Gotcha. Roll me a quick investigation check.
Okay.
We're just gonna see how far you get. ... before ... 17, pretty good actually.
Wow.
Okay.
At a -1 with that too.
Right? So you have this kind of concept in mind that you're looking for, and you flash a smile when you need to flash a smile. You have a short conversation when you need to have a short conversation. You're in tune. You're paying attention to people's facial features, and in doing so, in acting this way, you kind of like the place seems open and you seem like you can walk around, but you also get the feeling that you're going an extra mile with that, right? Like, you're going a little further and a little unquestioned more than other people potentially would be, right?
Yeah.
And that affords you the opportunity to inspect a couple of different places and realize that unfortunately there doesn't seem to be much of what you're looking for. The crystal ball, like witches' quarters, right? It doesn't seem to really exist. The more arcane nature of something like that, or even just kind of like the more library style situation. You do find two potential locations of interest, one being what is clearly more of a kind of like apothecary style situation. It's a room with a bunch of herbs and it's a little smoky in there. There's the chatter from two individuals in there. And the conversation that they're having, it strikes you as interesting because they're talking about the type of healing and how severe the healing energies needed to be for this particular person, and the potential damage to their psyche and their soul, right? So that kind of piques your interest. And then another one is this room that it looks like it's almost kind of like a pharmacy or something like that, right? But it's got people coming in and out of it constantly, and there is a woman who seems to be running the place, a very very big woman, very voluptuous, but also very big, very both in height. She's nearly probably like 6.5 to 7 feet tall, but she's also very wide and very round, but she's very light on her feet. It's almost kind of like unnatural, and her skin is white, just pure white, and her hair is bleached pure white. But she kind of like sparks your interest because when she is giving instructions and handing off things to people, she's very detailed with her instructions, right? She's very detailed on the measurements of the medicines that she delivers, or the instructions that she delivers about what type of magic to use or what kind of prayer to invoke, right, for which particular thing. You listen to her for a couple minutes, and there are the mentions of not necromantic energies necessarily, but healing energies, which you know now to be adjacent to necromancy, right? mentioned multiple times in very explicit detail and instruction from her.
Sure. I'm gonna go with door number 2.
All right, door number 2. So it's actually this woman that approaches you after a couple minutes of you kind of like being in the area and listening to conversations. She kind of like bounds, almost like legitimately bounds over to you. It takes like 2 steps, but each of those steps crosses like 4 feet, right? Bounds up to you, light as a feather on her feet, and looks at you, and she gives, I can't do the voice, but she gives you this super low baritone voice, which is completely different to the voice that she has been speaking. She's been speaking in kind of like a, all right, go do this and do this thing and blah, blah. And now she gives you this, are you watching me? Kind of like voice. It kind of like rattles your bones. You feel vibrations in your chest from the baritone of her voice.
Oh boy. Sorry. So what did she ask me again?
She asked, "Are you watching me?" Like your investigation was good enough to get you in and see all these things,
Yeah.
but it wasn't stealth. It wasn't keeping you from being seen.
As a matter of fact, yeah. Yeah, I am. Looking for some help with something.
What kind of something?
A magical item that relates to the soul.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Might that be something you can help me with?
Maybe. Who are you?
I hold out my hand. Say, the name's Matt.
She takes your hand and
Grunge.
pumps it twice, right? Says, Gita. But that doesn't really answer the question.
It doesn't?
You hear Valina in your mind, and she's like, I think she means more like, why? What do you represent? Associations? I don't know. She's intimidating.
Well, I'm an adventurer. I've recently spent some time in the Undermountain.
You see
I've been
Gita's
working
face
on-
kind of like frowns.
I've been working on behalf of Laryl Silverhand. Got the sweet little pin.
The Undermountain is a dark and dangerous place. You should not venture there.
You are not wrong. But it's gonna stay dark unless I bring some light to it. I smile at her.
Kind of like cocks her head, and you see her eyes. You hadn't noticed this before. She'd been at a distance. Her eyes are pitch black.
Oh, scary. Oh,
All-
she's like straight up possessed like a demon.
All the way through.
It's Varash too.
And she looks at you, right, with these black eyes, and then she passes her hand, pale hand, in front of her face. And there is a little mote of light in the center of each black eye that begins to grow until her eyes are kind of shining, and she's looking at you with these kind of like shining angel eyes, right? And it's incredibly disconcerting. And she says to you, she says, I don't think you understand. The darkness has already infected you. There is a shadow upon your soul.
Oh. Okay. Might you be able to help with that too?
This is a curse of your own doing. It will only get worse the further you delve. I told you, Undermountain is a dark and dangerous place. You should not venture there. This item that you have, related to a soul. Come with me. And she,
I kind of like sheepishly follow her.
she stops and she talks to someone as she's leaving, clearly like giving instructions on what to do while she's gone. But she takes you 2 rooms over, to a smaller chamber that looks to be like, kind of like a, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like a doctor's office room. It's an examination room, right?
Oh, okay.
And there's like complete with little bed thing that people sit on / lay on, etc. And she opens the door, heads inside, and then after you enter, she just kind of holds her hand out and says, "All right, let's see it."
I put it in her hand.
And her eyes, which had gone back normal, right, to black during the conversation, she passes her hand in front of it again, and then, hey, normal for her, calm down over there. She passes her hand in front of it again, in front of her face again, and her eyes again beam with light, and she spends a few minutes looking at this thing, and he says, "There is indeed a soul within. What are you trying to ascertain?"
I'm being completely honest. I'm trying to figure out if it's a major crime lord in there that I should not let out.
New soul who it is.
The soul has a dark stain upon it. I would not assume that it is benevolent.
All right, that's good enough for me. I think I know what to do with it.
And that is? And she hasn't given it back to you yet, by the way.
Well, destroy it, purge it.
The ring must be destroyed.
If you are not cautious and you release the soul, as this item is capable of doing, it could be very unfortunate.
Okay. I have no intention of letting it free.
Have you been in communication with the soul? And she stares at you suspiciously. Like, obviously, unmasked suspicion.
When we first identified it, I tried to communicate with whatever was in there to figure out if there was something in there. I got the sense there was something in there, but it didn't talk to me.
You should consider yourself lucky that it did not do something to you. That was foolish behavior.
You're not wrong. Pretty new to that type of ring. I was still kind of getting my bearings under me.
And narrows her eyes at you and says, again, you should not be adventuring in Undermountain.
Point taken.
You get this kind of like air of disapproval from Gita towards the whole adventuring thing, period, but especially
I'm not a
Undermountain.
badge. I'm a hero. You can't tell me what to do.
Different strokes for different folks, my man.
I'll have her all here in 5 minutes.
Gita hands the ring back to you, right? And says,
I plop it into my bag folding.
you should seek a means to contain it, or power far stronger than your own. Destroying such an item is often costly and foolhardy. Not impossible, but should you choose that route, I would advise extreme caution. Depending on the method, the soul could be made free even with the destruction of the item. Now, that might not matter. Soul might be incapable of doing any ill in the form that it is in. Perhaps it will simply pass on. But it could linger, or worse, it could have somewhere to go. I would recommend finding a very powerful ally and a very safe vault. Unless you have a god in your pocket.
Nope, don't got one of them. But I do got some powerful friends. Could maybe try one of them. I appreciate your help on this. Do I owe you anything, or can I make a donation to the temple?
Donate to the temple if you so choose. You owe me
Fantastic.
nothing aside from heeding my advice and not unleashing a great evil upon my city.
I will not do that.
Careful. what you
Fast
want.
forward
Gita
2 years
kind of
later.
like turns her head at you like the, boy, you better.
Okay, I skedaddle my way out of there because she's creeping me out.
Okay. She kind of like follows you out, and you hear her as she arrives at the location that you had been in, the kind of like pharmacy area. And when she gets there, she reverts back to a regular voice. It's
Okay.
very weird.
All right. Is there like a donation bucket in here so she can see me drop the money in?
There are a number of different places throughout the various temples of Waterdeep where you can make public donations.
All right.
And private
I-
donations as well.
I donate 50 gold.
Ooh.
Biddy.
All right.
50. I give him a good donation.
Normal.
All right, cool. Okay. Between the conversation at Kellamvor's and the time spent at the temple and then moving around, you're pretty low on time for the rest of the day. Is there anything else you want to try to squeeze in? Are you gonna try to like go see somebody about the ring and like do something there? What's your plan?
I should do something about the ring, but I'll save that for another day. I think for now I'm gonna head over to the city guard barracks and just kind of carouse a little bit and chat with some people and see if there's anything major going on, anything I can help out with in the next day or two.
All right. You make your way back into the North Ward. You head up to the guard station that is it's almost at the corner. It's on Tower March, which is a road, right? It's at the corner of Watch Alley and Tower March, and it's a part of the wall that separates the city of Waterdeep from the Field Ward, right? The Field Ward is contained between two walls, the outer wall of Waterdeep and the inner wall of the city proper, right? And the guard station for the North Ward, the major one there, is basically a big garrison on that wall. And you walk in, and you're in there for all of 30 seconds or so before you hear this slightly familiar voice call out, and it says, Matashtai! Matashtai, is that you? And you look over, and you see an individual that you vaguely recall beating the crap out of as an initiation to be able to work or assist the city guard in the Howldown operation. It's Mandius. You see Mandius.
Beat down.
And this city guard individual, this member of the Griffin Cavalry, kind of like recognizes you, waves you down, and starts talking to you. It's like, what are you doing here? What are you in for?
Well, I'm topside for a couple of days, and I was just gonna see if I could lend my services.
Drunk and
Help out
disorderly.
anyway.
Services. Oh, you mean like helping out, go on patrols, do that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
He pauses and he says, "Hey, do you have any experience teaching?"
Depends on what.
He looks at you and he says, "Well, you taught me a bit of a lesson the last time we met."
Fighting? Yeah, I could teach you a little bit of fighting.
So, look, we got a new crop up at the Eyrie, and we normally have a course that we go through for hand-to-hand combat. Now, we try to start them off, obviously, right, our hand-to-hand combat might be a little different than yours, since it's normally on the back of a griffin, but we try to start them off with the basics on foot. Only thing is the guy that we normally have come in, is, well, he's off, apparently, with the Order of the Gauntlet for something right now, so we were just gonna do it ourselves, which would be fine, but I figure, having one of the heroes of Waterdeep in the fourth might be a little bit of motivation.
Any chance I could get a ride on a griffin in exchange?
Oh, well, to get up there, unless you want to fucking climb the mountain, you gotta.
I mean, that wouldn't be so bad, but yeah, griffin ride.
Griffin
It's
ride.
like, all right, well, so this isn't like a training boot camp or anything like that. This is relatively relaxed. So, I'll pick you up in the morning. We'll do like 4 hours. I'll drop you back off. How many days can you do?
How many days can I do? What day are we on? Day 2?
4 left till we go.
Hey,
Go
2
back.
more. He has 2 more.
2 more?
I got 2 more days before I'm heading back down.
We're going back on. I believe we were planning on going back on the 16th. Y'all were.
16th
Or
or
maybe the
17th. You
17th?
guys were kind of
that's
like
right.
top
the
seed.
other day was,
Yeah. I think it depends on how successful some of the ventures are. So it's 16th or 17th, depending. I think was the plan. So 2 to 3 days.
Yep.
Okay. And he'll go, it's pretty short, but I mean, it's better than nothing. If we don't have you do it, then I'm gonna have to do it. Or I guess Giles could do it. No one's gonna have fun with that, though.
Not Giles.
Never Giles. Alright. Yeah, meet me. You know what? I'll just pick you up.
Literally.
All right. See you
Just
tomorrow.
stand on the roof.
Go stand on the roof.
Just hold your hand up.
Matt's gonna get back. He's like, guys, guess what? Griffin's picking me up in the morning. No big deal. Don't freak out.
I love it.
I know it's
So,
really
so
cool.
is this a date?
Oh
Don't worry
yeah.
about it.
Oh
Shit.
shit.
I'm gonna have a
Brown
date with
cow.
Mandius.
Okay.
The man,
Wait,
the
you guys
myth,
were
the
always
legend.
talking him up. I couldn't resist.
The man, the myth, the Mandius. All right. So with that, your investigation into assistance basically done. Return back. It's starting to get late afternoon, early evening at this point. So return back. Do your old shtick. And next up is Ezra. But I think we're gonna take our break real quick. So we'll be back in about 5-ish minutes or so with more of our research, relaxation, and all this other stuff in the City of Splendors. We'll see you in just a few bit. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.